This is QTV Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Ansumade Sonyase. First, here are the main news headlines. The newly appointed heads of the country's 3 higher education funds today paid a courtesy call on President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. Professor Jibril Fall of GK Partners stressed the importance of diaspora engagement and inclusive policy dialogue for sustainable development and democratic governance in the Gambia. The former Minister of Energy and Petroleum, now Minister of Tourism and Culture, Abdoulaye Diop, has broken his silence on the controversial Russian oil import saga that once put him at the center of a parliamentary inquiry. And new research led by the MRC unit, the Gambia, at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has found that vaccinating pregnant women against whooping cough provides newborns with enhanced immune protection. In international news, Uganda's long-serving President Yoweri Museveni has taken a commanding lead in early presidential election results released by the country's Electoral Commission on Friday. Stay tuned as we bring you more on these and other stories. And now here's the news in detail. The newly appointed heads of the country's 3 higher education funds today paid a courtesy call on President Barrow at the State House in Banjul, reaffirming their commitment to strengthening higher education, research and innovation in the Gambia. Alucise reports.
The delegation, comprising executive heads of the tripartite funds and their respective governing board chairs, was led to the presidency by Professor Pierre Gomez, the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. This was their first official meeting with the President since their appointment. The visit provided an opportunity to thank him for the trust in appointing them, while also briefing him on progress made so far and their strategic plans going forward. Dr. Samba Bah is the Executive Director of the Student Revolving Loan Scheme.
For the Student Revolving Loan Scheme, we're just telling them about how we are an institutional setup at the moment. We're trying to hire the senior leadership, but also focus on using the next 3 to 6 months in building the institution, building controls, having the right systems in place such that when we send out the call for applications, we would have the right system to make so we can track every application. And once we start disbursement, we can track every dollar that is put to this fund.
Dr. Jojendor Tambidu, Executive Director of the Tertiary and Higher Education Trust Fund, whose governing board chair is Mohamed Jah, Chairman of the Q Group, described their meeting with President Barrow as fruitful, adding that such interactions are vital to keeping the Gambian leader updated on developments.
It was really great to hear that the President also believes that education is a priority and it's an investment and not an expense. So we look forward to having more interactions with the President to update him on the work that we're currently doing. Currently, for the TED Fund, we have set up the institutional frameworks. We have recruited our leadership team, and this is a national duty, and we're calling on all Gambians to support us as we look forward to be an enabler and a funding mechanism to strengthen and transform our higher learning institutions in the Gambia.
Professor Mamadou Salah, the Executive Director of the National Research and Innovation Fund, thanked President Barrow for receiving them and gave reassurance of their commitment to move the agenda forward.
We've already started the process of recruiting a very, very agile and kind of like powerful team that will take this agenda forward. We started setting up not only in terms of branding and mandate and offer, but also the infrastructure that will allow us to do this.
This meeting with the President comes 2 days after the Q Group fulfilled its pledge of $15 million, $5 million each of the 3 funds donated by QCell, QuantumNet and Ajib Bank. Similarly, President Barrow also granted an audience to Professor Ahmed Adamu, Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, the Gambia, formerly known as the Gambia College. He briefed the President on the level of transformation, achievements so far, timeline and targeted deliverables within the next few months to establish a stable University of Education. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Professor Jibril Fall, director of GK Partners and a renowned migration policy expert, has highlighted the significance of diaspora engagement and inclusive policy dialogue in advancing sustainable development and democratic governance in the Gambia. He made these remarks during an exclusive interview with QTV. Speaking on his long-standing focus on social enterprise and sustainable development, Professor Fall said meaningful national progress depends on actively involving Gambians in the diaspora. He emphasized that beyond remittances, the diaspora represents a vital source of skills, investment and ideas that can help shape long-term development outcomes.
I left Gambia many years before dictatorship. I left Gambia in 1987, as in my teens, to go to university. So there were many years of democracy before you had the overthrow. So you then had almost like a generation of isolation. During that time, there was a time when the Gambia was the #1 in Africa except Cape Verde, where you have the highest number of its graduates being outside.
Reflecting on the role of policy actors such as GK Partners in shaping the Gambia's democratic and development agenda, Professor Fall noted that these institutions serve as facilitators, creating platforms for dialogue, collaboration and investment that advance sustainable national development.
Their role is even more as facilitators and opening doors than writing the policies, because the process of just writing the policy is relatively easy, and people keep repeating it. The Gambia is not short of good policies. So almost every good policy you want exists. And even if it does not exist in the classic form, it's not difficult to create.
On the Stake in the Nation Forum, Professor Fall says the initiative was conceived to provide a neutral, inclusive space for meaningful dialogue among development actors on national priorities, a sharp contrast to the era of dictatorship when open policy engagement was largely impossible.
To have a space where all of the different sectors that act in development can get together in a safe, friendly and honest space to dialogue. And we may have forgotten, due to the joys and beauties of peace and democracy, that during the dictatorship years that was impossible. So you needed that forum.
It is without doubt a successful venture, but how do you ensure that it remains inclusive and not elite-driven?
Yeah, there's almost immediately a degree of elitism, straight away, because you're talking of policymakers, senior government officials, university students, even the civil society, the people in the civil society, people who are educated, run these organizations. So there is that degree of it. The point is it still impactful for what it wants to do? Yes.
Speaking on migration and sustainable development, Professor Fall described the issue as deeply personal and central to his work. He highlighted the significant contributions migrants make to national economies while stressing the urgent need to address the root causes of irregular migration. He called for development-driven solutions that expand economic opportunities at home, particularly for young people, as a sustainable way to reduce irregular migration. Professor Fall also reaffirmed his commitment to the Gambia's national development, emphasizing that inclusive dialogue, diaspora engagement and youth-focused development initiatives are essential for the country's future progress. Answane Sonyase for QTV News. The former Minister of Energy and Petroleum, now Minister of Tourism and Culture, Abdoulaye Diop, has broken his silence on the controversial Russian oil import saga that once put him at the center of a parliamentary inquiry. In an exclusive interview on QTV State of Affairs this week, the minister addressed these allegations of abuse of authority, political protection, and interference in investigations, while outlining his vision and reforms in the tourism sector. State of Affairs host Aliou Cissé reports.
The former Energy and Petroleum Minister and current Tourism and Culture Minister Abdoulaye Diop, for the first time, publicly responded to the finding of the Parliamentary Finance and Public Accounts Committee, Public Enterprises Committee, which recommended his censure over alleged $30 million Russian oil re-export policy. The Joint Committee had cited what it described as lack of due process and abuse of authority. However, the minister rejects such a characterization and insists there was no scandal to begin with.
My question is always, what is this scandal? But I think the matter by now, by their own conclusion, has been settled that nothing could be established.
Yeah, so
and furthermore, the fact of the matter is that that product which was brought in this country is the same way that other international traders have been bringing product in this country.
The minister argues that the petroleum products in question were never owned by the Gambia government, stressing that international traders dominate the fuel supply chain, with oil marketing companies merely purchasing and selling to consumers. He also dismissed claims that cabinet approval was lacking, stating that the parliament overstepped its mandate by questioning cabinet procedures.
You see, with all due respect to the committee and the National Assembly, National Assembly has its standing orders. Nobody tells the National Assembly what to do with respect to its internal operations. If you're not a member of cabinet, how can you decide or say that something is fictitious?
Addressing concerns that his permanent secretary was sidelined in the process, the minister cited the Petroleum Products Act of 2016, which grants policy authority directly to the minister, not the administrative head. He also rejected allegations that the policy favored Apogee FZC, noting that multiple international traders had access to fuel depots.
But here we have seen, Honorable, Jar Oil and other licenses, OMCs, as you just tell us, told the parliament that they were repeatedly denied storage while Apogee occupied the depot.
No.
So why was only one company able to operate in practice?
No, that is an operational issue between the depot and whoever has a product. If you have your store, Aliu, today, how you get money is based on what people store in your store. So the depot, if they have somebody that has a product today, and they store that product to provide for national security supply for the country, would you wait for somebody that doesn't have the product? No.
On claims of interference in a police investigation into Apogee's commercial director, the minister denied wrongdoing. When asked whether he was politically protected after cabinet rejected parliament's recommendation for censure, the minister was firm.
No, it's the facts that vindicated me, it's the facts that protected me.
If you were to be reassigned again as the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, what is that one thing you will love to fix again?
I'll just do my level best. That's what I'll always continue to do. Try to do what is right, without fear or favor.
Now heading the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Minister Job defended his reassignment, saying leadership qualifies him for the role. Since taking over in March of 2024, he says his ministry is revising the national tourism policy, rolling out a 5-year strategy, and strengthening public-private collaboration through what he calls the Team Gambia framework. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
And a report there by Aliu Sise will lead us to the commercial break, but we will be right back.
Good health starts with what is on your plates. That is why the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and the Ministry of Health have partnered to develop the food-based dietary guidelines to help us meet our nutritional needs, promote health, and prevent disease. Want to boost your health? Add more legumes and nuts to your daily meals. The FAO and the Ministry of Health recommend eating 3 servings every day. Before cooking, sort out any stones or spoiled beans. And remember, do not peel your beans. Cooking them thoroughly reduces any gas-producing effects. Roast or boil nuts well before enjoying them. They are packed with nutrients that support a healthy lifestyle. Make legumes and nuts a part of your daily diet for energy, health, and a balanced meal. Eat legumes and nuts daily. Follow the food-based dietary guidelines for a healthier Gambia.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. New research led by the MRC unit, the Gambia, at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has found that vaccinating pregnant women against whooping cough provides newborns with enhanced immune protection, including the upper airway where infection begins. Here is Julian Jai.
This is what whooping cough sounds like. a collaborative study led by the MRC unit The Gambia at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine with partners in the Netherlands and Germany shows that vaccinating pregnant women strengthens infant immunity in multiple ways. The research found that antibodies generated in pregnant women following vaccination were detected not only in their baby's blood but also in the nasal lining, the upper airway where whooping cough bacteria and other respiratory pathogens first enter the body. This discovery provides new evidence that maternal vaccination may offer direct protection at the site where infection begins. Whooping cough, also known as pertussis, remains a major global health concern, causing an estimated 200,000 to 400,000 deaths annually, mostly among young infants who are too young to be fully vaccinated. To address this risk, researchers conducted the Gambian pertussis study, a phase 4 randomized controlled trial involving more than 300 pregnant women and their babies in the Gambia. Half of the women were vaccinated during pregnancy, while infants later received routine wholesale or cellular pertussis vaccines, allowing researchers to compare immune responses across different strategies. Professor Beata Kamman said maternal vaccination protects newborns in their most vulnerable weeks by providing passive immunity before babies are old enough to be vaccinated. Researchers also use a non-invasive device to collect immune markers from infants' nasal lining, allowing airway and blood immune responses to be studied together. Dr. Ania Sasso said the study is the first to show maternal antibodies reaching infants' upper airways, suggesting added protection at the infection entry point. It also found stronger immune responses from wholesale vaccines, though both vaccine types effectively prevent severe disease in infancy. The findings support the World Health Organization's recommendation for countries to continue using wholesale vaccines, particularly in low and middle income settings, while also highlighting the importance of maternal vaccination in countries that rely on cellular vaccines. The research was funded by the Innovative Medicines Initiative 2 joint undertaking, Horizon 2020, the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations, the Gates Foundation, and Bactivac. Overall, the study reinforces maternal vaccination as a life-saving strategy, guiding global immunization policies to better protect newborns, especially in low-resource settings where whooping cough remains a persistent threat worldwide. Reporting for QTV News, I am Julde Yai.
Now, after years of uncertainty and failed migration attempts, Alassane Jallow returned to the Gambia and transformed his passion for cars into a sustainable car wash business. He spoke to Babukar Cisse, and here is his report.
For many young Gambians, the pathway to Europe is viewed as a route to success and better living conditions, an illusion that drew Alassane Jallow into undertaking the dangerous journey. However, after confronting the risk and hardship of the journey, he chose to return home in search of a better future.
I struggled all the way to Libya, but never made it. I eventually decided to return home and work here. It was only after leaving the Gambia that I truly realized it is a good country.
After his failed migration attempt, Alassane Jallow ventured into the car wash business in the Gambia. However, his business suffered a major setback when authorities asked him to vacate the area.
It was at the airport junction, but due to road expansion works, I was asked to vacate the area. Struggling to find another location, I traveled to Dubai to work in a car wash. However, the pay was low, so I returned to the Gambia.
Drawing on his car wash skills and experience in Dubai, Mr. Jallow opened another car wash business in Farato. He explained how these skills have transformed his life.
With my earnings, I take care of my family and my parents. I manage my own and do not beg anyone for support. Whatever I have, I earn it here.
Alassane Jallow spoke about the challenges he currently faces.
I need to invest in new equipment and secure a good location for visibility. With support, I will be able to train young people. I know this job well.
This is his advice to the youths.
Let us focus on working hard instead of waiting for others to support us. If foreigners can come here, work and earn a living, then we as citizens can do the same.
By returning home and establishing a car wash business, Jallow inspires young Gambians to work hard and believe in themselves. What was once called the back way ultimately became his journey back to a better life at home. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
Up next is international news. Uganda's long-serving president Yoweri Museveni has taken a commanding lead in early presidential election results released by the country's Electoral Commission on Friday as opposition figures raise concerns over violence, arrest and alleged electoral irregularities. Loliam Kamara tells us more.
According to tallies from nearly half of Uganda's polling stations, President Yoweri Museveni has a commanding lead over his closest rival, pop star-turned politician Bobi Wine, Robert Kyagulanyi, while 6 other candidates are far behind the two of them. Museveni, 81, has ruled Uganda since 1986 and is seeking a 7th term. After voting on Thursday, he said he expected to win about 80% of the vote, adding, if there is no cheating. He even gave a press conference after casting his vote where he made the extraordinary claim that historically it has been the opposition that has cheated in Ugandan elections. It is not a claim supported by any evidence. This election has been marred by reports of violence at opposition rallies and allegations of widespread fraud. Bobi Wine's party claims he has been placed under house arrest, heightening political tensions. The vote also took place amid an internet blackout, drawing criticism from international observers. As counting continues, both Ugandans and the international community are watching closely for how far the results will be received. The Electoral Commission is expected to release full results on Saturday, the 17th of January. For QTV News, Loliam Kamara.
Also in international news, prominent Islamic leader Mahmoud Dicko, who describes himself as the defender of Islam in Mali and a key figure in the protest that led to the overthrow of former President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in 2020, has once again emerged at the center of Mali's political debate, this time from exile. More in this report by Jacqueline Coley.
Dicko, the imam seeking to mobilize popular support for a new movement aimed at toppling Mali's military junta, has been living in Algeria since 2023. Although he initially backed the soldiers who seized power, relations soon deteriorated, and the influential cleric was sidelined by authorities who came to see him as a growing threat. Through a new political platform, the Coalition of Forces for the Republic, Dicko says he aims to revive dialogue among Mali's deeply divided political actors and ultimately bring an end to military rule. The former head of Mali's High Islamic Council is presenting himself as a unifying figure at a time when the country is grappling with worsening insecurity and economic hardship. Jihadist groups have imposed fuel blockades and launched attacks on industrial sites, further straining the economy. At the same time, the Malian army and its Russian paramilitary allies face persistent allegations of abuses against civilians, even as jihadist violence continues. A Bamako-based opponent of the junta who has joined Dicko's movement told AFP that the imam appears to be one of the last cards to play, adding that the current situation cannot continue. However, Diko's conservative religious views have sparked doubts about his ability to unite Mali's diverse population, especially regarding the future of the country's secular system. While many supporters anticipated his return to Mali, the Imam has remained in exile. Reports of a potential arrival in Bamako last February led authorities to deploy heavy security across the capital. His stay in Algeria, a country with tense relations with Mali's rulers, has further strained ties with the junta. It remains to be seen whether he will carry out his intention to return this time. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Koli.
And before we end, here is a recap of our main headlines. The newly appointed heads of the country's 3 higher education funds today paid a courtesy call on President Barrow at the State House in Banjul. Professor Jibril Fall of GK Partners stressed the importance of diaspora engagement and inclusive policy dialogue for sustainable development and democratic governance in the Gambia. The former Minister of Energy and Petroleum, now Minister of Tourism and Culture, Abdoulaye Diop, has broken his silence on the controversial Russian oil import saga that once put him at the center of a parliamentary inquiry. New research led by the MRC unit, the Gambia, at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine has found that vaccinating pregnant women against whooping cough provides newborns with enhanced immune protection. In international news, Uganda's long-serving President Yoweri Museveni has taken a commanding lead in early presidential election results released by the country's Electoral Commission on Friday. That's all for this bulletin. Do join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. for another bulletin. Until then, thanks for watching.